Zach, thanks for joining us today. And the second point that you make is that we are not investing in our children enough. That we're focused. Our budget is more based on support for senior citizens than it is for children. And I have to say, I read that and literally stood up in my chair and went, "Hurrah!" Because this is something that I had been nagging about since I started on the Hill in the late '90s. And from where I sit, if we invested more in children, we would have to invest less in them as senior citizens, and then we would have more money for all these other things that we'd like to do, like build roads and bridges, et cetera, and good schools. So let's talk a little bit about what you mean in terms of we need to invest more in children. First of all, what is sort of the definition of child and programs for children when it comes to federal spending? And can you give me some examples of programs that support children?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, shout out to the Urban Institute and the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, who have done a lot of work looking at this children versus senior spending category. My work in this space kind of builds off of theirs. In terms of what are we talking about when we're talking about spending on children, the biggest kind of pieces of this are refundable tax credits, like the child tax credit, healthcare spending, like S-CHIP, which is healthcare for low-income children or children who have low-income parents, excuse me, nutrition assistance, like SNAP food stamps, and then Title I education spending in the Department of Education, which tends to go to lower-income schools. Those are kind of the big categories. And all in all, we're spending about this year, and we'll spend about $1 on a child for every $4 we spend on an elderly person.
Is that just federal spending, or does that also include state and local money that's spent on children's program?
Sorry, that's a great point. This is exclusively federal spending. If we include state and local, the children do fare better at that because the majority of education spending is done at the state and local level.
So what is the Democratic case for spending more on children? Why should we? I mean, a lot of people that might be listening to this saying, hey, if you're a parent, you made the decision to have a child. It's your responsibility to take care of that child. It's not the federal government's responsibility. So what's the Democratic case for investing more in programs for children?
Yeah. So, for me, it's we have to look at ourselves and say, what is the country we want to be building? And to me, that means I want a country that is focused on a better tomorrow for every one of its citizens. And I think that means making sure that kids aren't growing up in poverty, they have enough food in their bellies, and they're getting a great education. Because when a kid is well fed and can have a great education, they can continue to be a better and better citizen in the United States. And that doesn't matter, where they were born or what they're going to do. That just, to me, makes a big difference. And so, I think focusing on spending and investing in our future is a better use of a dollar, that next marginal dollar, than thinking about something that we spent on the past. Also, in this paper, I did another look at this. Instead of just comparing seniors and children, what if we compared future-oriented spending to past-oriented spending, which is okay. We'll take spending on children, and then we'll add in roads and bridges and other sort of investment, and then we'll take spending on elderly, and we'll add in net interest and other sorts of legacy costs like support for veterans and things like that. Then it evens out a little bit more, and we're much more in the kind of in the $2 or $1.50 on the past to $1 in the future. But over the next few years, that's gonna kind of increase. So the situation here is the trend is not getting better in this ratio. We're actually at a relatively high point, thanks to investments in education and the American Rescue Plan Act. But it's reversing.